Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Data and AI Summit 2025. Can you all hear me? I see some of you putting your headphones on really quickly, so nice to be with you. My name is Dennis Talley. I'm a managing director at KPMG. I'm here with one of my business partners, Shelly Gilman from our finance and accounting team, and Mohana Gadipu, who's from my innovation team. So today we'll be talking to you about AI BI Genie, and it's been really exciting for us. So this was the abstract. We've all experienced the frustration of wading through dashboards and reports. We know that dashboards and reports are essential. 10Ks, 10Qs, regulatory reports. The need for consistency is going to continue. But we believe that there's another opportunity for us to really affect the way that people interact with data, and that's through conversational experiences. So we're going to talk a little bit about a specific use case, our contract to cash use case, which was in our billing and cash collection COE, and Shelly will get into more detail about that. I'll go through the table of contents really quickly. We'll hit an introduction, context and problem statement, the AI BI Genie introduction. We'll talk about the use case. We'll do a demonstration. So we skipped the live video this year. We did a live video, a live demo last year, so we recorded a video this year, and Shelly will speak over that, and then we'll touch on conclusion at the end. So for those of you who aren't familiar with KPMG, KPMG is a leading professional services organization that focuses on audit, tax, and advisory services. Like many companies, we are data-driven. Quality, timeliness, and relevant insights are what drive our business. Dashboards, as I said, will continue to exist. We don't anticipate that we're going to eliminate all of the Power BI reports that are in the enterprise, but we do know that not everything requires a dashboard, and not everything requires a report. Prior to 6 or 9 or 12 months ago, when I wanted an answer to something on my personal time, I Googled it, usually. Now I Gemini it, or I GPT it, or another tool, but very rarely am I going to a document that was produced and looking for the value. I'm generally just searching for it. And so we wanted to be able to introduce that capability within our environment. The development of dashboards, if I were to say a phrase, I know it's what I asked for, but now that you've given it to me, I realize that this is what I really need. Can you add these 3 columns? Can you add this subtotal? Well, actually, no, the project's over, and we need to move on, or we don't have more budget, or insert your dissatisfier there, right? So the idea of getting to that finished product, well, actually that is exactly what I want. Can you go harden that for me in Power BI or in another vehicle, right? Another tool? Could we get to what the business user is looking for faster, and maybe on their own? The complexity of dashboards, if I want an answer, do I want to drill down on the intersection of 7 different dimensions to get to a specific value for the metric that I'm looking for, or do I just want to ask the question like I might an experienced colleague? And then, conversational over the last several months has started to leak into many places like AI, but we think that AI BI Genie is really a leader in this conversational experience, and we're happy to share that with you today. It seems like information is moving faster and faster. Decisions, the introduction of AI has increased the pace at which information is moving and the expectations of our users, and therefore the decisions that we're making. We expect that this is going to continue, and there's going to be less and less tolerance for latency in response. So what is AI BI Genie? Can I just get a quick show of hands? Who's used Genie at this point? Okay, great, that's good. For those of you that haven't seen it yet, it relies on natural language processing. The interaction here really is with Unity Catalog. So if you're wondering how Genie gets the context to answer the questions, it's really dependent on Unity Catalog. Right? For users, and I don't want to knock Shelly here, but Shelly is a finance and accounting professional. She doesn't write PySpark, right? She's not developing T-SQL. She's a finance accounting professional, but she wants to be able to ask questions of her data in ways that make it seem like she's data savvy, and she is. So the simplification of these queries is something that you'll be able to interrogate. If you know SQL, you can press on a button that says, show me your SQL, and you can validate that in place. And then actionable insights, so multi-shot prompting. If you think about it, I didn't get the response I was looking for on the first prompt. Let me go ahead and iterate through, and it'll give me the information that I'm looking for. In terms of how it reimagines interaction, so the idea that we can talk to the data. You have a colleague, you're new to the organization, you know that person is the one that everyone goes to get the answer, right? The friends and family network. What if you could do that in a way that was more systematic, where you could rely on a repository of curated data, where the information was monitored on the back end, where your prompts could be evaluated, where your thumbs up, thumbs down sentiment could be acknowledged. We think that there really is a change in the way that we're all going to be working, that multi-shot interaction. In terms of transforming how we interact with data, it is a more intuitive response that you'll see from the tool, and it's really exciting for us to be able to show that to you today. So from an efficiency standpoint, we're able to process large volumes of data. The engagement, as you'll hear from Shelley, was really off the charts. We haven't had an experience with an end user and a new tool like we have with Shelley, and it was really great to see the tool in her hands. And then the idea that it's constantly generating insights. So I didn't ask that question, but that tripped an idea, and I'm going to drill down on that a little bit more. Something you can do really easily with Genie. So without further ado, I'm going to let Shelley go ahead and introduce the contract to cash use case. Shelley?
Great, thank you so much, Dennis. And I'll just do a quick mic check, because I hope all you know that I can't hear myself talk right now. Hey Databricks, it is awesome to be here. My name is Shelley Gilman, and I head up KPMG's Working Capital Center of Excellence. Today, I'm going to show you a few ways our team at KPMG is utilizing Genie and how it's really changed the way we interact with data. I appreciate Dennis giving me a little bit of those kudos, saying I'm data savvy. If anything, Genie has made me a bit more data savvy. Certainly has made me sound smarter when I'm talking about my data. So I lead our working capital strategy at KPMG, and for the most part, our remit is to forecast cash and create predictive analytics. Like most finance teams, our challenge isn't that we don't have enough data, it's that we have too much data. And most of the folks on my team, or none of the folks on my team, actually code. So a lot of times our data is behind a barrier, whether it's SQL, whether it is Python, or just a system that we use for our P&L reporting that our team members can't access directly. We spent, prior to Genie, a lot of our time dedicated in cash forecasting was actually spent in data wrangling, and we weren't very good at it. I didn't just want to talk to my data, I needed my data to start talking back to me, and that's where Genie entered the chat. So I'm going to today give you a little demonstration on how we're using Genie from a cash forecasting perspective. I'm going to let this play out, and I'm going to give you a little voiceover. So usually what takes us about a week of reporting cycle time takes us just a matter of minutes in Genie. So why don't we go ahead, Mohana, and start that demo? Awesome. The first thing I'm going to ask Genie to do is just give me actuals from last month. So I've prompted, what are May 2025 collections? Just like I would lean over and ask a colleague. It gives me an answer. I am that person that wants to ask 3 more questions. So I can give feedback to Genie here where it's asking, is this correct? I want to give it a, yes, this is correct, and I have an additional follow-up question. I don't have to specify the context again, but I can actually just follow up and give it to me more granularly. We operate in functions, so I've asked it to break it down by function. So now we've got that response. We have these 3 business units. I can use this data as is. It's trusted because I know the governance is coming from our Unity catalog. Genie's also provided a visualization. I don't have to spin my wheels in Excel picking out my colors for a bar chart. I can open up the widget pane on the right-hand side and make a few quick edits. Treasurer always likes to see those compact format for my million, so I'll add that to my bar chart, and we'll let that load. Once I've got that in a good place, I can save that as a graphic, directly insert that into a slide deck, and I'm done with my actuals in a matter of minutes. That used to take me about a couple of days. The next thing I want to do is, let's get into the future. Let's start using Genie to predict what are our collections going to be in the future. So I'm going to prompt Genie next to predict collections in June. So I've asked Genie to predict collections for June 2025. Definitely moves faster than that first year associate I was training. And I've got my response, thinking. So it's given me a prediction for June 2025. This looks good. This is where Genie starts talking back to me. You can see at the bottom, there's suggested prompts that come up. Genie suggested that I bring in prior year June. That's what my first year should have suggested when I asked for the data in the first place. Genie again is going to suggest different prompts. It understands the context, and I'm comparing two metrics. So it suggests, do you want to see the variance between these two metrics? And I'm going to say yes, and Genie will be able to give me that variance based on a simple calculation, but you can now start to see you can utilize Genie to calculate on your data sets. Now I've got my variance, just like Dennis was describing, that finance person that goes back and asks for something else when you're done. That variance looks good, yes, but we report in both absolute dollars as well as percentages. Otherwise, my CFO doesn't really appreciate what I put in front of him. So here we've got just a prompt that will explain, like I would that first year, I want my variance in percentage and give me 2 decimal points. And just like that natural language, I'm not digging through formally an Excel menu to go find how I can format this. I'm speaking to it as I would a colleague right next to me. And I'm going to give it a thumbs up and a yes. See, my colleagues would take the thumbs up, yes, good job, but they were never really good at taking the feedback when things wouldn't go well. I could also give a comment here if I needed to. So now I'm asking about a future contextual question. What function will have the highest collections in July? It gives me my answer, and since I'm still in that same chat, I can ask a follow-up question. In this case, I want the associated KPI. I want Genie to calculate what will be my days sales outstanding, how we measure who has the highest or best collections. So Genie can quickly recall from our data model that we're going to end in July at 9.5 days, which, by the way, from a finance perspective, is really good. I'm going to ask it one last question. Look back, give me the context of the response you just gave me. What is the average KPI for that period?
Thank you.
For the prior period, January to May, and we've got our response pretty quickly. Now, that seemed like I was talking really fast up here, but what took about, 4 to 5 minutes, really used to take not only 4 to 5 days, but could take 4 to 5 weeks in a cycle, where we end up at month end before we've actually completed the reporting. This doesn't allow me just to, cut my team so I don't need those associates, those humans in the loop. This actually enables them. It puts at their fingertips, kind of replicates me as a coach. They can go through my former chats and prompts and kind of look at what are the others on the teams interrogating Genie about. Now this is one of the features I like most about Genie. And I know when Mohan and I were working together, one of the things that he brought up was, Genie has a dashboarding feature, why don't we go check it out? So usually when a finance person goes to build a dashboard, first I have to find someone that has Power BI skills. That doesn't proliferate throughout the organization, and usually there's a long line of finance people just like myself waiting for that Power BI person. This is a dashboard that someone on my team built. They're pretty good at Excel, but they don't even step into VBA, so forget about Python and all that other stuff. This dashboard came together in a matter of minutes, not days or weeks at our typical cycles. I'm going to show you, as the last part of our demo, how to add a visual in just a matter of seconds. So, Mohana, I'm going to add a new visualization to this dashboard, and it's in drag and drop, so I can drag up the visualization, and just like the Genie space, Genie starts to understand and is prompting me, what would you like to see? Giving me some suggestions I know what I want to see, so I'm going to ask it specifically, give me unbilled by month. That's what finance folks called amounts that have not been billed, unbilled. So that's what it's given me here, and it's given it to me in a nice form. We have a time series on the bottom. I want to tweak this slightly. Like most AI results, it's about 80-90% there. I jump into the pane on the right. I'm not calling my developers to ask them to change the color. I could do that on my own, adding the tooltips, the labels that I want. And just like that, in a matter of minutes, we have Genie producing a dashboard that, if I like where it is, I could save that and share that amongst my organization. The first thing my CFO asked me when I showed him Genie with Mohana and Dennis was, can we trust it? And there's 2 words, exactly. There's 2 words that we say, and the question stops right there. The Unity Catalog. Okay, that was 3 words, but you see where I'm going with that. Unity Catalog engenders trust around our data. Okay, so there's a lot more that I'd love to share with you, but this talk is only 20 minutes, so I'll start to wrap it up and then I'm gonna pass it back to Dennis. The couple of things that I did want to just touch upon before we end is, this has been a journey. We started off just building a predictive model, and the team at KPMG showed me the future with the natural language interface that Genie offers. We now have many use cases that we're exploring, and just earlier was in a session where we constantly generating new ideas of how we can use Genie across our enterprise. So I hope I've shared with you a few ways that KPMG is utilizing Genie to really change the way not only how we interact with data, how we think about data, and how much time or less time we're going to spend wrangling data in the future. Okay, Dennis, I will pass it back to you to take us home.
Okay, so I know, raise your hand if you want a business partner like Shelly. She's awesome, and really can't thank Shelly enough for being here with us today. Normally this is a technology conference, but I couldn't think of anything more impactful than to bring the business partner that we deliver this for. So in her own words, we talked about the challenges in data and analytics. We introduced AI BI Genie. We talked about a real world use case. And now we'll open up the floor for any questions that you have.